Good morning and welcome to our Marketing Monday series. I'm your host for this session. I'm Drew Tonsmeyer, serve as the Area Director for the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center, and my office is located at Kennesaw State. Today I'm going to be doing my favorite subject, talking about search engine optimization. Over the last few years, I've been concentrating a lot of my interest in learning is about SEO, and you'll see it's probably half art, half science. So we're going to be going over some of the things that Google outlines for you to improve your organic rankings. Just a few reminders. If you have a question, there is a Q and answer segment or panel that is in your box. If you will direct your questions through the Q&A, and I will address those at the end. And then we're also going to be doing a little bit of polling. So you'll see our polls come up that you can participate in. So very glad to have all of you join us today. Again, my name is Drew Tonsmeyer at the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center. Great. Well, why don't we go ahead and we'll get started. And today I'm sharing the 4 key drivers of search engine optimization. And please direct your questions through the question and answer, and I will do my best to address those at the end. So we hear about SEO. What is SEO? SEO stands for search engine optimization. This affects your organic rankings, not your paid advertising, just your organic rankings in different search engines like Google or DuckDuckGo or Bing. So I'm going to show you a few things that you can do to your own website to improve how you might show up as customers look for you. So let's take a poll. So first question that is going to be addressed, and you can choose up to 3 answers. Besides Google, what are commonly used sites people use as search engines? So I'll give you a moment to pick up to 3 choices that are in there. Y'all are doing a great job. Lots of people are actively voting. Encourage you all to join in and take a vote. So besides Google, what are commonly used sites people use as search engines? And I'll give everybody about 5 more seconds to join in on that. Great. Well, I see the choice, the number 1 choice that everybody chose was Bing. And then a few people chose YouTube. So those are really great answers. Very good answers from everybody. So let me just share with you, according to Alexa, that does some rankings of different search engines. Of course, Google is a top one, but the number 2 site search engine that people use is actually Facebook. Facebook is a search engine. So not only do you want to be posting information on your website, it's other social media content that can help drive some rankings. And YouTube is a very commonly used search engine. And for those that didn't know, YouTube is owned by Google. So YouTube and Google kind of go hand in hand. But Amazon, especially in these times, has emerged as a top search engine. Somebody's looking for a product, they're probably starting their search on Amazon. And then a commonly used search is Wikipedia. So you did great in answering the different polls. So let me share with you just some of the drivers that drive that SEO dimension, and they include your site structure. This is the mechanical components of your site, of how it is structured in terms of its site content, in terms of title tags and meta descriptions, and just how it's physically structured. Then we'll talk about content, the things that you can add that will drive your rankings up. Speed is a major factor now in search engine ranking. So we'll talk about how to measure the load speed of your website, and then the linkability. These are the 4 most common drivers for SEO. And if you look at how websites are structured, they have the same nomenclature as a newspaper. Is they have things like headings and a headline and subheadlines or subheadings. There's usually a picture or video that is in the middle of it. They have captions that is below a picture or a video. And so think of your website very much like a newspaper. And you'll see that you'll hear a concept called above the fold content, meaning that information that is above the fold, meaning the top portion of the screen, has more relevance than what's below the screen, because most people will not scroll through every page of a website. They scan it and they only scan the information that they're looking for. So when we're talking about site structure, it begins with your domain structure, the pages. Each page has content like a URL address and just the different components that make up the physical nature of your site. So it all begins with this concept called domain authority. Domain authority is a concept of how old is your domain. So if you just registered your domain last year, you have less domain authority than a URL that existed 20 years ago. Popularity has another factor, is how many inbound links or how many visitors did that website have. And the more content or the size and pages of a website has greater domain authority. And this is very important. Nowadays, Google expects to have an SSL certificate, meaning it's a secure socket layer attached to that site. And it's a difference of, does your site show up as an HTTP or an HTTPS, meaning it is a secure site. Nowadays, Google even came out and said this is a ranking factor. And so nowadays, it's not that hard to include that SSL certificate. And that's just one of the things you might just want to check and make sure, is my site showing up properly? We see a lot of sites that have an SSL certificate, but it may not be enabled properly. So let's talk about page structure. Page structure has to do with the page URL or the street address, as you might say, for your website. Every page has a unique URL that begins with your domain, and then it also includes a title tag, and it also includes a meta description. So this page title, every page should have a unique page title. And with the within the HTML coding that is within your site, you'll see a component that's called the title that is what is showing as the title for that page. Then within that title, there is a unique meta description. This meta description is 300 characters long that describes what are the contents on that page. These are key signals that Google uses to determine what is that searcher looking for. So that meta description is something that you can edit yourself. So make sure that you have access to your website that you can edit the meta description. There's another component of meta description called meta keywords. And it used to be, we used to load up keywords in the meta keywords string. That's irrelevant now. Google does not even look at the meta keywords, even though your site structure might have that available. Google has figured out that people stuff words in there, and so it really doesn't look at the meta keywords, but it does look at the meta description. So let me show you how this might come into play. So somebody performs what we call a search query. That's going into Google, and they type in a couple of words, and listings come up. What you see in that blue is that title tag. Just below that title is the meta description. That's that 300 characters that is describing it, as well as the URL for that particular page. And notice just a subtle change in what is used in that keyword search can result in different keywords showing up, different pages showing up. For instance, we show baseball cards, but what if I'm looking for rare baseball cards and I type in rarest baseball cards, then a different URL for my website or a different page for my website might be the one that shows up in the organic listings. And most of the time, what people are looking for on my site is not on the home page, but actually drilled down. So if I can get the contents of my page, the particular pages to show up in the organic search versus just a home page, I've actually got a better chance of people finding what it is that they were looking for on Google. So just a few best practices to use is that title tag. Keep it short, 50 to 60 characters. Place the most important keywords at the beginning of that title tag, and make sure you optimize for humans, not the computer that is Google. Google is trying to train its machine to think more like a human. So you don't want to outthink the machine. It's still, at the end of the day, it's really how do your human readers interact with your website and not how the machines interact with your website. Another component within your page structure are called headings. You might have a major headline, then subheadlines, and these have a hierarchical component that is known as an H1 through an H6. So you can make sure that the most important thing on any particular page is your headline. So make sure that there's at least one H1 within your page structure, and then there might be subtitles within that might be an H2, an H3, H4. You don't want to get too heavy in these headings, but you want to make sure that this structure is in place to make sure that your website's easy for the mechanics of it to be sorted. Because those words that are in an H1 are more important for those search engines than, say, the words that are all in a paragraph. So there is a hierarchical order to what Google reads within that, is words within the H1 have greater meaning than just regular words on a site. So where you will see that in an example is if you were ever looking at the HTML coding of a site, you might see that here's a page that has an H1 heading of Brandon's baseball cards. Then there's an H2 heading that says news. Treasure trove of baseball cards found in an old barn. And then there's the paragraph of the story about that particular rare baseball card that was found. So you can see baseball cards in that H1 and H2 have greater hierarchical meaning than what's in the paragraph itself. So just a few best practices. Use those headings sparingly. Make sure you have at least an H1 or an H2 on every page. Make sure your hierarchy makes sense and don't use too many. It is, if you've got a page that has 1,500 words or more, there ought to be more headings to break it up, make it easier for that reader and that search engine to follow. Now here's the newest thing that the search engines look at, and it's a component called structured data. In the structured data, there are a couple of different subcomponents within that, but the most common structured data is called schema. Schema is a special type of HTML coding that is telling the search engines what kind of content am I looking at. Is this content related to an event, or is this content maybe related to a recipe? So we know that recipes have certain information. There's usually a temperature, there's ingredients, there's instructions. We know that a recipe looks different than an event, because an event would have a date and a time and a title and possibly a speaker. So that structured data or that schema data helps Google instantly go, am I looking for an event or am I looking for a recipe? And if you've ever done a search for some kind of component, more information kind of shows up. As for instance, I was looking up grandma's apple pie recipe, and notice how badly I spelled that within my search engine. But that first listing that came up was a full recipe for grandma's apple pie. And it's because the contents of this particular website had structured data that Google was able to identify that this was a recipe and not an event. So not every site has the ability to put in structured data that has to do with the platform that you're using. But as these platforms have become more and more sophisticated, the structured data becomes another added component that can help Google decipher what it is that is on your particular site. Most importantly, your site is about information. That information is what we call content. Content is what really affects most of your search ranking. And there's lots of different kinds of content. Of course, there's words or text, there's pictures, there's videos. All of this information is called content. And the search engines read all of your content and then index this content so that it can rank what it is that somebody is looking for. Let me delve into this just a little bit further. Text content are those words that have headlines and subheadlines and have paragraphs. This is what Google is looking at the most, is what are the words that people are searching for. And this is the complexity of search engine or optimization, is that the search engines love a lot of words on a page, but we as humans do not. We do not want to read War and Peace. We're on a website, but Google likes War and Peace. So it's always a compromise when it comes to search engine optimization. Is you cannot be perfect for Google and then be perfect for your human readers. It's a compromise on every single page. So some pages might have a lot of content and other pages might be shorter in content. Don't try to optimize every page to be 1,500 words or more. Is think about your reader. What are they looking for? That's how to organize a website. And so you've heard this concept of a keyword. What is a keyword? Keywords are what people put into that search query. That's a clue to what is a keyword. Is how people will search makes a difference of how the results show up. For instance, if you do a search on Google versus using a smartphone, you can use, or a smart speaker with like Alexa or Siri, you come up with different results. And so the machines that people are using to make their search can have a difference in the rank order of the results. And that's why it's very hard, again, to be perfect in everything. Is you might be showing up first on a Google search, but may not be so much first if somebody is using Siri as their search. But give you a few tools that you can use to find those keywords. Is one of my favorite tools is Google Trends, and I'll show you how that works. But also, even if you don't advertise with Google, Google has an AdWord planner, and that AdWord is based upon keyword drivers. And so you can use the keyword planning tool to find keywords that you can then incorporate into the content or the organic content of your website. So let me just show you a few ways of using keyword search tools to optimize your site. So the first tool I mentioned was Google Trends. So if you go to google.com/trends, or you just type in Google Trends, or it's trends.google.com, this is going to show you different ways that Google has seen the volume of search on different keywords. For instance, I was working with a local insurance agency, and the most common keyword for insurance was auto insurance. But auto insurance also has different usage across the country. Is what we might call it in Georgia could be different of how we look at it from California. So even there can be regional differences between keywords. So you could compare the word car insurance to auto insurance. So this would give you an idea of what words are more popular based upon the region of where your business might be. So again, Google Trends can be one of those tools that's absolutely free to look at keywords of how they're used. Using that keyword planner, that Google advertising, you can find similar words that Google will offer on a pay-per-click basis. But it also means if it's worth paying for, it's probably worth putting into your website. So I was working with the same agency and looking at some keyword drivers, and we discovered that one of the keywords that people are looking for is not auto insurance, but car insurance, but truck insurance. And so now we could create some new kind of content for that insurance agency by offering content on truck insurance. Just an idea about how to do some different ways to make your website unique. And uniqueness of content is what drives those search engines. That all the content on your website should be unique to everything else that is on the site. So there are billions of websites available. You want your search to match up to what somebody was looking for. So you may have found some good content somewhere else and copied it and placed it on your site. Well, changing a word here and there will not give you that uniqueness of content. You really need to rewrite it. Think of it in terms of that unique value. Will that reader gain something new by visiting your site versus where it showed up originally? So some newness of content that drives the search engine is how much changes on your website. Is a change occurring on just a single page, or is it occurring across multiple pages? How often is this changing? Is it changing once every quarter, or is it changing once a week? Are you adding new pages? The search engines have these bots that come and read your site. And the more changes that you make, the more frequently these bots come and index your site. So the rate of growth of change also affects your rank value. Another component that we'll talk about in just a moment is linkability. Are your links growing? And of course, behavior still drives things. That if it's still a popular site, it's still going to drive a lot of rank value just because of the sheer number of the people that go to that. So just a few content ideas is you can do things like we're doing today, do webinars, create webinars, post them on your website, but actually create them on a YouTube channel and link them to that YouTube channel. Have flowcharts, have games, have content that is interesting to your readers. That's what will drive your search ranking. Another important factor when it comes to websites is this is a visual medium. So pictures and videos are what drives a lot of interest from your readers. So images tell a lot of stories. So your website should include images. And there are a couple of tricks to do to optimize your images. First is if you take an image, like with your cell phone, you're going to end up with a file name that is something like 100_20139.jpg. Well, Google is looking at that file name as one of those SEO factors. So one of the things that we want to do is rename our photo files with keyword components, such that we might change this to my store's main entrance.jpg. Now we've created some search engine juice, as we say, with just a file name. And if you've ever done a Google search on image search, the file name is one of those key drivers of what ranks up in an image search. A couple of other things to do is, believe it or not, search engines cannot read a photo as yet. So it needs some other clues to know what is the content of that photo. That's what an alt tag or alternative text is for. So with your photos, most platforms include an availability to add an alt tag. Sometimes these alt tags, if you hover over the picture, that little box pops up with text in it. That's what Google is using as one of its key SEO finders is there an alt tag that describes this image? So whenever you can, include an alt tag on every image within your site. Another component that drives SEO are captions. Captions have greater meaning for search engines. So words that are above, below, or beside a picture are assumed to be captions. And because we're in a smart world, it's really how good does your website look on a smartphone, and is that image too big for that smaller screen? So a lot of times we need to compress images or shrink those images down so that they're phone friendly. A few things about video. Video is what's driving a lot that's on that, because honestly, it's a lot easier to watch a 30-second video than read 1,500 words on a text. So a lot of people ask, what should I put in a video? I said, the things that are on your website make for good video content. But a few tricks of the trade. When you create a video and you place it up on YouTube, include a transcript. Transcripts are read and optimized by search engines like Google, but if you don't put a transcript in, it's not optimizing the content that's in there. It's also your title of that video is keyword driven with the more important keywords in the title. So it's very important to spend a little bit of time thinking about what is the title and description of this video. And there are lots of different types of videos. Let me give you a couple of ideas. Is demonstrate your products or services. So that content that you have on your website that talks about the services that you might offer, show a video of that. How to. How to is the #1 search term that is used on YouTube. So why not include how-to videos about how to use your product, how to order it. Video testimonials from your customers are powerful components. So a lot of websites have those referrals or Google reviews, but even customer video testimonials are even more powerful. Most small businesses are engaged in their community, doing a lot of good things, such as sponsoring their local Little League, or sponsoring the ballet, or their son or daughter is in the band and has an ad in a band program. Show your donor dollars at work. People love to see what's going on into your community. How about a video about your staff so people can get to know who it is that might be coming to their home to perform some services. In this day and age, because we're dealing with a very different environment with the COVID-19 crisis, customers want to know, what are you doing to make your store safe for their visit? So why not include that kind of content on a video as well that shows the safety precautions you're doing to prepare for that customer visit. Time is a major factor. Speed does count. And so Google and other search engines are looking at how quickly does this page load up. So speed does matter. And I'll show you a couple of tools for measuring speed. So it's poll time again. So we're going to take a little bit of a poll and see if we can, forgive me a moment while I pull this back up. And we'll go to poll number 2, is how long does the average customer wait for a page to load on a mobile phone before they hit the back key? So put in your responses to see how impatient people are on a smartphone. I'll give everybody 10 more seconds to record, and then we'll show the results. Y'all are doing a great job. All right, let's see what most people think. The vast majority say that a typical user will wait 3 to 4 seconds before hitting that back key. And you're exactly right. That's exactly what Google has found, is that most people will only wait 3 to 4 seconds. And in fact, when this test site will show that if you are 4 seconds or longer on a smartphone, you're considered slow in today's world. So another tool that Google has is absolutely free, is a mobile test site called testmysite.thinkwithgoogle.com. So you can use this tool to see how quickly does my website load up on a mobile device. And actually you can test individual pages within your site. So you can see maybe the problem is on one of my order pages, or maybe it's one particular product that photo is larger than it needs to be. So this is a great tool to use. Not only can you test the speed of a mobile site, you can actually test the speed of how you look on a desktop. So one of the other tools that's very similar to the Think with Google tool is a page speed tool. And the way I always find this, I just do a Google search on page speed tool. It will be the first thing that shows up. And it will also grade out your site of how you look on a mobile as well as a desktop. And then it'll give you some common fixes that you can do. Some of these you could probably do yourself. Some of these might require a webmaster to make these other changes, but it'll give you an idea of what are things that are slowing down my site so that most of my users have a good user experience, because that's what it's really boiling down to. Is Google rationalized that if it takes 10 seconds or more to load a page, that user is not having a good experience, and that will lower your organic rankings. So speed does matter. So you want to test your speed and think of ways of improving your speed along the way. Finally, the other major component that affects your organic ranking is what we call linkability. These are links out to your site and links within your site. So Google is measuring, and it is following every link from every other website back into your site. And there's actually a ranking value, is that links that are coming from a .gov have higher value than from a .com. And it's very difficult to always get linkings from a .gov. That's a government site. But linkings from edu sites or .com or .org sites then improve the rankability of your business. So one of the things that you want to do is create a campaign of creating links from other sites to you. But you don't want to create false links. You don't want to sign up for these link farms and have these really bad pages linked to you. So it's actually the quality of those links that Google is measuring to look at your linkability. Not only is Google looking at the links from outside, it's also looking at the links from within your site. Think of it as you don't want to have people to move up to your menu to find something. Is now pages are horizontal, meaning if we're looking for a page and it's a keyword, that keyword is linked, and when I click on that, I'm hyperlinked to another page. So we want to have these horizontal links or hyperlinks from page to page to make it easier. Again, you're on a smartphone. This is the rationale that Google is using. Is I'm on a smartphone, I've already thumbed down 3 times. If there's another page that you want me to find, make it easy to do, like your contact page. Don't make people go on a treasure hunt to find your phone number. If the call to action that you're looking for is your phone number, you want that front and center. So we're going to talk a little bit about another Google site that is important to your relevancy, which is your map page. And for businesses that have brick and mortar, actually your map page can be more important than your own website. I'll give you a few tools that will help you measure your SEO performance. And we're actually going to be talking about these on other Marketing Mondays. On June the 13th, we're going to be talking about Google Analytics. So join us for that. And then there's another analytic tool that Google has called the Search Console. And we'll talk about that on June the 20th. So mark your calendars for SEO Part 1 and SEO Part 2 of measuring the analytics and how to understand where your ranking factors are. So let's talk about maps. This is very important because if anybody ever does a search and there's a geographical reference within their search query, or they're doing that search query on a phone, more than likely what's going to come up is what's called the Map 3-Pack. And this is your map listings or Google My Business rankings. And I'll show you some things that you can do to improve the rankings of your map page. So if you go to google.com/mybusiness, this is where your Google My Business resides. You might end up with more traffic on this site than on your website. Photos does entice other clicks. And Google is actually comparing this listing of information to other listing services of how you're listed on Facebook, how you're listed in the Yellow Pages, how you're listed on other sites. So we'll talk about the consistency of your name, address, and phone number in just a moment. So within this Google My Business, you have that info button, or the info menu is where you put in your basic information of what category is your business. You can add up to 10 categories for your business, your operating hours, your telephone number, and your website. And it's very important in these days about special hours. Many businesses may not be open or be operating on limited hours. Very important to update your hours and any special hours like holidays. We have a holiday coming up of July the 4th. Make sure you've updated, is your business open on July the 4th or closed? There's also a special component of updating hours that are related to COVID-19. Make sure you've updated any hours or delivery or pickup changes to your business. And one of the ways that you can share information is with posts. So posts work just the same way, and they show up in your Google My Business profile. And there's actually there's a new post that's called a COVID-19 update that you can give a specialty update. Like, are you open? Are you fully open? Give that update. Don't assume your customers know. Give them that update that you are open. You could do things like announcements, create events, put up profiles of new products or business information or changes or updates to your business. This is a very valuable tool to use, and is absolutely free to use. As we said, the internet is a visual medium. And so that Google My Business profile thrives on pictures and videos. Video should be 30 seconds or less, but that can help drive people looking at more content on your profile, is by updating photos and videos. And very easy to do. On the menu bar on the left, you click on click on photos, and this is where you can add photos and videos. This is also the place in the Google My Business that you can read and respond to reviews. Actually, it's not the ranking value or how many stars you got, but how many reviews that you have. So you want to make sure that you understand what is your online reputation, and your Google review reputation not only is showing what customers think about you, but they're also looking at you as a business about how you respond to reviews. So one of the recommendations that we have is to respond to all reviews, both positively and negatively, and give it a reason or a thank you for giving that good review. And if you got a bad review, explain what you can do in the customer service to make that a better experience for the next visitor. Another important component within the Google My Business are insights. The insights is its own analytics that will show you the number of visitors that you have and what are the keywords that they're using. So those keywords that people are using to find you on a map can become keywords that you want to incorporate within your website. So this tool is not only looking at, this is how people find me on maps. Look at it as that keyword finder of how people can find you organically. So those insights can show you what are those keywords, how do they interact, how many people call you or ask for directions, what distance are they coming from, or is there a particular zip code that they're using, or are there particular days that have higher phone calls than others. That's the value of the separate insights, is it can show you what's kind of happening. You can also add managers to this. So maybe you can't do everything yourself. You can add other employees, or you can add other agencies to help you manage your Google My Business listing. So on the left side on the menus, just go to users, and you can add users, and you can give them different administrative rights of how much can they change and update in the Google My Business. Another important point to remember is pay attention to your name, address, and phone of how it appears, not only within this listing, but how does it appear on your website? How does it appear on your Facebook page? How does it appear in other directories? For instance, when you look at this address, which one is the correct address? They're all the same. But Google is a machine. It doesn't know which one is the right one. And so what Google's looking for is that consistency of, is this the same address? So try to make sure that all of your addresses of how you've got every other place listed is in the same address structure as what you have in your Google My Business listing. So do you abbreviate Parkway, or this is US 41? So it's got a lot of different names to it. So look at your Google My Business as kind of the default, and make sure every other directory listing matches that. So some of the most common issues that we see of people having issues within their SEO is you as a business owner do not have full administrative rights to your site. This is your page. This is your business. You should have full admin rights to everything, full admin rights to your web page, to your hosting, to your Google My Business, to your Google Analytics, to Google Search Console. You ought to be the one with full administrative rights. Make sure you've kept this thing simple, that your login information, and I hate to say it, but you need to write down your login information and keep that somewhere safeguarded. This is the most common issue that I have, is people have trouble logging in because they might have multiple Gmail addresses and can't remember, well, which Gmail address did I use for the Google My Business and which one did I use for analytics? I may have used a different one for getting into my WordPress site. Keep your life easy and make sure you have this written down. If you rely upon your computer to remember them, remember, if your computer ever fries, you've lost all of your login information, and that can be very difficult for you to then go and edit. And try not to have different email addresses for different properties. Try to keep things simple of having the same login information for those things. All right, it's time for another poll. So let me get to our next poll. So, which of these is not an SEO ranking factor for Google? Let you answer those. Which of these is not an SEO ranking factor? Y'all are doing great. We'll give everybody 5 more seconds to plug in their answers. Y'all did a great job. So the vast majority said, all of you, all of the above are ranking factors. And you're exactly right, is all of those components that are listed in this does affect your SEO ranking in some way or fashion. So y'all did a great job. So let me finish with 4 simple ways that you can improve your SEO ranking. Is add new content. That's the easiest thing you can do, is add new content. And think of it in terms of adding pages with text, adding pages with pictures, adding videos. And if you do add videos, I recommend post those videos on a separate video channel, and then link that information from that YouTube channel back to your website. One is you're creating another link that improves your linkability. And number 2 is you don't want to embed videos. Videos are very, very large files and they take a long time to load, and that affects that page speed of your site. So we want to always link our videos to where they're truly hosted. Number two is make sure you've got unique page titles and unique meta descriptions for each and every page. So this is going to be one of those afternoon projects that you go through every page and saying, is my title unique enough for every page? Is not every page might need the name of your business. You need it for the home page, and you might need it for the About Us and the Contact Us. But some of the other content you might need, you don't need your business name. Maybe there's another keyword that should drive what is on that particular page. So we want to create, again, unique titles. Go through and make sure every page has that unique title. Next thing to do is check your photos. More importantly, check your website on your smartphone. Is go and pull it up, count how long does it take for it to fully load on your site, and think about your website from your customer's experience. How well does it really perform on a smartphone? And is it the image or image size that is slowing down that smartphone view? And finally, one other simple way to improve your SEO is put stuff on other social media. The things that you do in Pinterest, the things that you do on Facebook, the things that you do on LinkedIn can have ranking value if those pages that you're posting on are linked back to your website. So make sure when you've got your LinkedIn profile, do you have your own website linked into that business profile such that when you post content on LinkedIn, it's linking back to your website. Same thing on Pinterest, same thing in true on Facebook. So the more content that we place in other places that point back to your primary website, the more your ranking value can go up. Great. So now we will stop and we will do our best to address some of the questions that you have. And I will just tell you, SEO is half art, half science, because you will talk to a lot of SEO specialists and when the rules change. Google publishes a guide to help you, but they do not ever publish what their algorithm looks like. And so it's anybody's guess what kind of drives the true algorithm. But if you do some of the things that Google suggests, you'll probably move up in these search engines. So with that, we're going to see if we can address some of our questions that are out there. All right, so here's our first question. You might get this later in the session, but I see a lot of photographs outlined without captions. Does SEO consider whether or not documents have captioned photos? And the answer is yes. Google likes captions and it likes alt tags. So the more text you create on your site, the better. That's the secret is photos don't have text value, and we want to create text value for those photos. How do clean templates from Wix or Squarespace affect SEO? They tend to be minimum in design and content space. Do you have a better chance with WordPress over Squarespace for instant higher SEO ranking? Actually, the template software has improved dramatically, and I like template formats because they're easier, but it has to do with what do you have the skills to do and the time to do? Are you doing the editing, or is there a management company that is assisting you with your SEO? Most of the templates now have where you can put in title tags and meta descriptions. So these templates make it very easy to update those components. The challenge comes is when you want more complex kinds of things, and that's when you've got to look is, does the template that I have really work with it? And here's one of the sadder things I've discovered is I kind of look at websites are like cocoons, meaning they last about 3 to 4 years, And then after about 4 years, you got to completely redo them because the rules have been redone, recast every 4 to 5 years. And so sometimes you just got to do a major update of a website such that it's relevant to the way that people are searching. Are there some good tools or websites for generating structured data? Actually, Google does have a tool within their search console of looking at structured data. And so one of the things I learned from Google, because I do a lot of training through Google, is if Google gives you a tool to measure something, it's important. So when Google gives you that page speed, it's important. When Google gives you that structured tool, it's important. When Google gives you a tool for measuring your safety, that SSL certificate, it's important. So that's a hint. If Google gives you a tool, it's important. Does a link from a chamber directory help with link relevancy? Absolutely. That is one of the reasons for joining a chamber is now you've got a very good quality link. Chambers are typically .org in their suffixes and have high volume. And so they are, Google ranks them as having high relevancy. And so when you have links from your chamber back to you, that's a very, very good link. When is it too late to respond to a bad review? That's a great question. Typically, if that review is over 2 months, it's probably better to just let it lay there. And there's sometimes going, you can't do anything about a bad review, but you can challenge a bad review, and you can ask Google to look at it and review it, but they will not remove a bad review just because it's a bad review. There always has to be a rationale for it. In order for Google My Business to function, are there any special codes needed for the website? No, Google My Business is a separate listing. And so that listing is created on Google. It's a property that belongs to Google, but you should have full access to that. Does having your Facebook page on the website count as new content? Yes and no. That's a great question. Google reads Facebook, and so it's reading that content that's on Facebook. So the question is, if I put it up on Facebook, does it give me any value of putting on my website? When actually think of it from your customer's point of view, are they on Facebook, and would they have read that content on Facebook versus given the availability of reading that content on your website? So my thought is, don't assume that they've seen it on Facebook. If it's good content, put it on your website. Good questions that are coming in. Best practices for getting .gov or .edu links to you. It's with anything is, why would they link to you? Sometimes they will link to you because you ask, but there needs to be a good reason for them to link to you. And do they have the availability of even doing that? Some government sites just don't, they're not actively linked to anybody. And I will say getting a .gov link is extremely difficult. For us, because our program is partnered with the SBA, we have some strong links from the SBA.gov site, because the Small Business Development Center is a national partner with the U.S. Small Business Administration. For a business without brick and mortar, is the Google My Business system helpful? Yes. Even without, you might be home-based or you're a service-based company, you have the availability of creating that profile, but not posting up your address. People are still looking on maps to find information. And so you can still use the Google My Business as one of those reference tools. Wix says that they can do a free website for my business. Is it really free? Wix and these other templates will do some components for free, but then they might charge for all of the content that they might add in there. And again, it's a function of time. If you don't have the time to create the content, then maybe it might be worthwhile to hire an editor or hire somebody who can help you with this content, get it together. Do videos need to be professionally edited for better linkability? This is probably one of the most unique things about video content. And if you go to YouTube, look at the quality of the videos. So here's the trick about videos. It's not the video quality that counts, it's the audio quality that counts. So one of the tricks of the trade is, if you're doing video, is to grab an outside mic or use another microphone to capture the audio, because what is heard on a video is actually more important than the visuals. If you look at some of the most popular videos that are out there, the video quality is awful, but the audio quality is what drives it. So if you've got information that is driving it, is really create good audio content, because a lot of people watch videos with the videos off and they're listening to them. So that's one of the tricks of the trade. And so that's why we create that audio, and then we can go back in and put in that transcript to optimize that video content that we've done. All right, I'm going to switch over. Give me a moment. I'm going to take a look at the chat feature and make sure that there were no questions that we missed over there. What advisory services does the SBDC have for SEO? We encourage you, reach out to your local SBDC offices. There are a number of us across the state. I've got a colleague that is in South Georgia, Jordan Tippett. Jordan knows all the things that I know. And so I encourage you to reach out to our local office. Our local offices will contact either myself or Jordan, and we're happy to assist you in that process of SEO. We will be sending out a link to this video of this, as well as all of our PowerPoints, so that you can refresh and go back and look at some of the things that we did. Great. I think we have addressed all of the questions that have come in. Very appreciative for everybody that has joined us today. I encourage you, reach out to your local SBDC office. You can find us at www.georgiasbdc.org. We have a lot of seminars that are going on around the state. So it's not just our office. I'm lucky enough to have 17 colleague offices. We have over 50 people that are involved in the SBDC, and we're always sharing our information and our content and working with one another. So when you connect up to your local SBDC, you're not connecting up with one person, you're connecting up to the whole collection of experts that we have within our organization. And we're happy to be of service to you. As a reminder, all of our seminars, our webinars through the remainder of 2020 are going to be free of charge, thanks to funding from the CARES Act. So again, go check out our training page at Georgia SBDC for upcoming training events. 2 reminders about programs I'm doing next on SEO is doing a program on Google Analytics on July the 13th. And then a week later on July the 20th, I'll be talking about the Search Console. We appreciate everybody being with us. And if we can help in any way, please contact your local SBDC office. I've been your host today. I'm Drew Tonsmeyer. I serve as the Area Director of the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center at Kennesaw State University. Thanks, and have a great day.